Donald Trump, the life before the presidency. Before the White House, there was Trump. Before Donald Trump became president, before the rallies, before the red tie, before social media discovered that absolutely everything can become a meme, there was Donald Trump. Businessman, celebrity, reality TV star, and, apparently, a man who looked at a building and thought, nice building, but you know what it needs? My last name in giant letters.
You underestimate my power!
But here's the interesting part. Trump's journey to the presidency didn't begin in politics. It started with real estate. Then came fame, then television, and eventually the White House. So how did a businessman from New York turn his own name into one of the most recognizable brands in America? Let's go back to the beginning, because trust me, the story gets interesting.
Wait a minute!
No, he didn't start with $20. Donald John Trump was born in Queens, New York in 1946. His father, Fred Trump, was already a successful real estate developer. So before we bring out the inspirational music and show a dramatic shot of someone walking alone through the rain, let's establish something important. Donald Trump did not start from absolute zero.
Okay.
He didn't wake up one morning with $7 in his pocket and whisper, "Someday, I shall own Manhattan." His family was already wealthy. His father had built a substantial real estate business. Donald grew up around apartment buildings, construction, business meetings, and negotiations. Basically, while some kids were learning how to ride a bicycle, Donald was learning about real estate.
I get emotional. I'm just so proud of you.
Different childhood, different homework, probably fewer gold stars. He attended the New York Military Academy and later studied at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School. After college, he entered his father's business. But Donald wasn't satisfied with simply continuing the family operation. He wanted something bigger, something more glamorous, something more visible. He wanted Manhattan, because apparently Queens wasn't enough.
Okay.
Manhattan. Subtlety has left the chat. In the 1970s, Trump began focusing on Manhattan real estate, and Manhattan wasn't exactly an easy place to become famous. There were already wealthy developers, established businesses, massive competition, and absolutely no shortage of people who thought they were the smartest person in the room. Trump entered anyway. He became involved in major projects, including the redevelopment of the Commodore Hotel, which became the Grand Hyatt New York. Then came the project that would become one of the biggest symbols of his identity, Trump Tower. And let's just say, the building did not believe in whispering. Glass, marble, luxury. And the name? Trump. Big letters. Very big letters. Because apparently putting your name on the building wasn't enough. The building also needed to make sure you could see the name from approximately another planet. But there was a strategy behind it. Trump wasn't simply selling real estate. He was selling an image, luxury, success, power, and most importantly, the Trump name.
Okay.
When your name becomes a business model. During the 1980s, Trump's public profile exploded. He appeared in newspapers, magazines, television, celebrity events, business publications. People knew the name. But behind the glamorous image, there were serious financial problems. Several Trump-related businesses accumulated substantial debt and entered bankruptcy proceedings. So the situation was basically public image. Everything is amazing. Financial reality. Could we maybe have a conversation? But here's where things get interesting. Trump remained famous. People kept talking about him. And in the media business, attention is valuable. Even criticism can keep your name in the headlines. And Trump understood something very well. If people are talking about you, they haven't forgotten you. And forgetting someone is probably the worst thing that can happen to a celebrity.
Okay.
The book that said, "I know deals." In 1987, Trump published The Art of the Deal. The book became a major bestseller. Now, Trump wasn't just the guy with the giant building. He was also an author, a businessman, a celebrity, and apparently someone willing to explain to everyone how he made deals. The brand was getting bigger. And the most interesting part was that the product wasn't always a building. Sometimes, the product was Donald Trump himself. His name could go on properties. His image could appear in magazines. His story could be turned into a book. His personality could be put on television. Basically, Trump had discovered something very powerful. You can build a business around a name. And his name was already doing most of the marketing.
Okay.
Then Trump entered show business. By the 1990s, Trump had become a celebrity beyond real estate. He appeared on television. He made appearances in movies and shows. He became part of American pop culture. And eventually, television came knocking. Well, technically, television probably called several times. And then came The Apprentice.
Okay.
The boardroom becomes a battlefield. In 2004, NBC premiered The Apprentice. The concept was simple. A group of contestants competed in business challenges. At the end, Trump sat in the boardroom and decided who was going home. And then came the famous phrase, "You're fired." Suddenly, millions of Americans who couldn't care less about Manhattan real estate were watching Trump judge people's business decisions on television. It was brilliant television. Imagine being told, you have 1 week to complete this business challenge, and your entire future depends on impressing a man sitting at the end of a table looking like he already knows whether you're getting fired. The show became a major part of Trump's public identity. And here's where things really changed. Before The Apprentice, Trump was famous. After The Apprentice, Trump became mass market famous. People who had never read a business article about him knew his face. They knew his voice. They knew his personality. And most importantly, they knew the name.
Okay.
Politics was always lurking. Trump's interest in politics wasn't completely new. For years, he had talked about political issues and considered the possibility of running for office. But for a long time, it seemed like politics was just one of the many things Trump could talk about. Business, sure. Television, absolutely. Politics, why not? But then the idea of actually running for president started becoming more serious. And eventually, 2015 arrived. The day the reality star entered reality. On June 16, 2015, Donald Trump announced his campaign for president at Trump Tower. And suddenly, the man who had spent decades building his name was putting that name directly into American politics. Think about the career progression. Real estate, businessman, celebrity, author, reality TV star, presidential candidate. At this point, if someone had suggested that the next career move was astronaut, honestly, nobody would have been completely shocked. But Trump had something incredibly important: name recognition. He didn't have to introduce himself to America. America already knew him. They knew the buildings. They knew the television show. They knew the books. They knew the celebrity. They knew the phrase, "You're fired." Now they were about to see whether a man famous for running a reality TV boardroom could survive the much larger boardroom of American politics. From "You're fired" to the White House. Trump's journey before the presidency wasn't one giant leap. It was a series of transformations. A young man in Queens, a businessman in his father's real estate world, a developer chasing Manhattan, a celebrity building a personal brand, a businessman dealing with enormous successes and serious financial problems, an author, a television star, and finally, a presidential candidate. For decades, Trump had been doing something very specific, building his name. He put it on buildings, he put it in books, he put it on television, and eventually, he put it on a campaign. By 2015, millions of Americans already knew exactly who Donald Trump was. Whether they admired him, criticized him, or simply wanted to see what would happen next, they were paying attention. And that may have been the most valuable thing he had built. Not a skyscraper, not a casino, not a television show. Attention. Because now the man who had spent decades building the Trump brand was about to attempt his biggest deal yet. Not a hotel, not a tower, not a television contract. The presidency of the United States. And if you thought The Apprentice had a dramatic boardroom, well, the next boardroom had 330 million Americans.